This is Billy Webb of Whanganui, and back in the early years of the 20th century, he won the World Sculling Championship and then successfully defended that title right here on the Whanganui River. Last year, to mark the centenary of that major New Zealand sporting moment, the current World Sculling Champion, Mahe Drysdale, met the Olympic champion Ola Tufte of Norway. Tufte ran out the winner that day, so Drysdale has a score to settle in this year's ProSpace Billy Webb Challenge. As he says, it's the only major international race he hasn't won. It's the same river that Billy Webb won his world title on, but a little downstream from the 1908 course. A tad over 5 kilometres in total, travelling with the stream, the scullers have to negotiate 3 bridges and a couple of big bends. Sandbanks do protrude into the stream in places, so navigation is important, especially as they get closer to town as the tidal effect increases. The trickiest part of the course is the final bend through City Bridge to the finish at Taupo Quay. And this year, a new innovation, something that would never have been considered in 1909, a women's race featuring New Zealand's #1, Emma Twigg.
Heads racing or head-on-head racing over 5k is very different to lining up against 6 people over 2k, so a lot comes into play, a lot of tactics, getting the currents right, being in the right position on the river and watching what the other person's doing while still, putting 100% into it and trying to race as fast as you can to the other end. Yeah, it's very different to a straight course.
Twigg is joined in the women's race by Australia's Sally Kehoe, who's been concentrating on bigger boats in recent years, and by Gisborne's Odette Skeets. Skeets is the Fenzian wildcard entry, winning her place in a qualifying race against some of the biggest names in New Zealand sculling, an unexpected win that's got her puzzled about tactics in the big race.
Hang in there. I don't know, haven't really thought about it. I didn't really expect to win it today, so I guess, Sunday's a whole different day.
Sally Kehoe stroked the 8 for Australia at the last Olympics, but she does have a pedigree in the single scull, a junior world title.
I think it's great fun. You can't take it too seriously. I think if you do, you just get frustrated, and so you kind of use what the river throws at you, what the tide or the wind. It's a lot of elements in it and a lot of tactics, which sometimes takes your mind off the actual pain of the race. So it should be interesting tomorrow. I'm really not sure what's going to happen, but I'll be having fun no matter what I'm doing.
Up to the start now for the women's single sculls in the ProSpace Billy Webb Challenge. Your commentators, Mike Stanley and Dick Tonks.
And we have a start. Emma Twigg on the east bank. She's starting on the left. It's Sally Kehoe in the middle from Australia, the Olympian, and the winner of the wildcard race on Friday, Odette Skeets on the east bank. So all 3 scullers are away very quickly through their start strokes, and perhaps Emma Twigg with just a very slight lead, although Odette Skeets, Richard Tonks, who's here beside me, casting his very experienced eye over these scullers. In fact, Odette Skeets has gone away very well as well, Dick.
Yeah, Odette Skeets, she's on the Aramo side, more in the current. She's gone away very well. The 2 top scullers, as you might call them, both went away very stiff and very short. There's quite a wash here from the boats coming up, I think, and both of them were short, stabbing at it. They're getting into their work now, and Emma Twigg would be nearly a length. Sally's just gone for a hell of a wash there, and Odette would probably be now back in third, but Emma, I'd say, is now pushed out to a length, and she's looking a lot more relaxed and just getting that little more length, whereas Sally's still just punching that front, and she needs to relax and get a bit further out.
So it's now going to become a very tactical race for Kehoe and of course Twigg, because it's counter and cover from the New Zealander, but she's stretching out further, Dick. I'd say now she's probably a good 3 or 4 lengths now, and looking very comfortable. Blade work nice and even as the blades run forward close to the water, disappear, and then she's straight on the pressure with the legs. We can contrast that with Kehoe, a shorter sculler and a shorter stroke, much punchier. She's now looking a bit more comfortable as they've found some clearer water, and she's moving away from Gisborne's Odette Skeets.
Yeah, Emma's dropped her rating down. She's down to 29. and Sally's still 30 or just over 30, but she still hasn't really got the hang of the water, and Emma can really just sit in front of her and control the whole race now, and she's looking more and more relaxed.
Odette Skeets, the under-23 New Zealand representative. She started very well, but these two stronger athletes now pushing out as they approach the Aramo Bridge at the end of the first 2 kilometres of this 5 kilometre race. And Emma Twigg has taken a bit of a gamble as she has headed towards the west bank and slightly more shelter, but there's no doubt about it, she's going to have to row the longer distance than Keogh. Keogh looks across to her left and senses she is making some progress now, and she's just pushed her rate up a little bit more to see if she can get on more level terms with the New Zealander.
Yeah, Emma's come across a little bit just to avoid that bridge, and that set her back on course, and she's going to come across the front of Sally now. She seems to realise the mistake she was making. She's come in to cover Sally, and there must be a good 3 lengths of clear water, 4 lengths of clear water between the two.
Yes, well, Sally's certainly keeping at it now. She, as you say, she was behind the revival of Australian 8 at the great race at Hamilton not so long ago, and she'll be probably hoping to just be able to squeeze underneath Emma here as she's closer to her left bank. But Emma is looking very composed at the moment. Her blade work hasn't altered at all. She's still looking very efficient. But the athletes here at this time are working very, very hard. This is not much under 2k pace, so the heart rates are right up there, so real concentration to maintain technical discipline.
They need to pull it hard around this corner and line up for the finish. Emma's had another look there.
Whanganui really has turned out in force, and this is our first of 2 races this morning. Of course, the men's race about to get underway, and you can see the big crowd on the banks and the Whanganui as the scullers approach the final bridge, and then they'll just run some less than 500 metres into the finish. But it is Emma Twigg, New Zealand's Emma Twigg, who is in control. Sally Keogh hasn't been able to make up the deficit that she sustained at the start, and Emma Twigg now goes through the bridge and some 6 or 7 lengths ahead of Sally Keogh. Sally coming up to the bridge, a game performance from her. She's had to struggle with Emma in covering position all the way down, but she's never given it away. And Emma Twigg now down to the finish line in the 2009 Pro Space Billy Webb Challenge, the women's single sculls. Comfortable win for her. As she raises a hand in triumph, and Sally Keogh, a game second position. And unfortunately, Odette Skeets just dropped a little too far behind and has sustained a bit of wash, but the young under-23 sculler, I'm sure Whanganui will give her a big hand as she comes up to the bridge.
I'd love to be back, and it'd be great to see some more international women, maybe some of the Europeans who, you know, continue to beat me year in, year out, and are awesome competitors as well.
The winner of the 2009 Pro Space Women's Single Sculls at the Billy Webb Challenge is Emma Twigg.
A terrific win for a promising young athlete, and another in that category is Nathan Cohen. He's the Fenzian wildcard qualifier who's been travelling, training and competing with Mahe Drysdale recently, and he's beaten him a few times as well.
Mahe's in a league of his own. He's 4-time world champion for a reason, and obviously got the world record as well. So, you know, he's a great benchmark, and it's great to have him and training every day. And obviously, I spend a lot of time, you know, travelling and training with Mahe. So that's been, you know, really good for my own sort of progression and that sort of thing. And I can learn from, you know, the best pretty much. So I've really enjoyed that. He's always a tough competitor, and he's probably, you know, one of the, you know, well, he is probably the toughest racer in the world. So, you know, it's always going to be hard lining up against him, and you know that, you know, he won't treat you lightly and he'll be out to, you know, pretty much give you a good thrashing. But I'll be trying to spice things up a little bit and see if I can give him a bit of a hurry up, and yeah, anything can happen, I guess, on a river.
The international competitor this year is Belgium's Tim Myens, ranked number 4 in the world. but a much smaller man than Mahe Drysdale.
On a 2K race, it's more about power, and the longer the race gets, the more endurance type the race gets. So I'll have a little bit of an advantage, not an advantage. The disadvantage will be less on a longer race, and I hope there's not too much of a headwind at the start. Otherwise, I guess I'll be blown away at the start. So I hope it's a tailwind.
But the man the Whanganui locals have come to see is the 4-time world champion Mahe Drysdale, who's really excited about international rowing on home waters.
The last 2 years you've got Tim Mains, you've had Olaf Tufte and myself racing, so that's 3 of the top 4 guys in the world. Anything that can attract that sort of calibre of athlete is certainly an international race, and it's certainly one of note, and obviously going back in the history to Billy Webb, it is very important.
So up to the start line, where Drysdale has won the draw for the all-important centre lane, meaning he'll be able to keep his eye on the competition as soon as the umpire drops the flag for the start of the 2009 Pro Space Billy Webb Challenge. Once again manning the commentary boat, super coach Dick Tonks and Olympic gold medalist Mike Stanley.
Tim Mains from Belgium, Mahe Drysdale, the 4-time world champion from New Zealand in the centre, and to his left, Nathan Cohen from New Zealand, winner of the Friesen wild card race here held on Friday as the scullers come through the first 100 metres, and it is Cohen, in fact, with a narrow lead over Mahe Drysdale. Tim Mains right on Drysdale as well as they come past us. It's the young New Zealander from Tim Mains, and in the centre, Mahe Drysdale.
Yes, all 3 of them have come out hard. It's really just a match race down here, and if they stay like that, they're going to have to go hard into this wind all the 2K. It's great. Cohen just in front. Tim's up there with Mahe. Mahe's settled into a long, strong stroke. He's just had a look. He's keeping an eye on Nathan. He can't let him go.
Gee, Tim Mains looks very strong as well. We know how well Cohen can start. Last year at the New Zealand Championships, the man went absolutely ballistic and took several lengths off Mahe Drysdale. The question is, will he be able to hold on to this? It's a very long race. We've got 5 kilometres of racing to go as these guys currently at 2,000 metre pace, and it's Nathan Cohen who's moved right over on top of Mahe Drysdale, and Lee Spear, the umpire, is having his work cut out to separate them.
Cohen's doing a great job. He's up on nearly 36 to Mahe's 32. He's sitting on his bow, but he's not getting away. There's a strong headwind out here, and it looks like there's even more wind coming. Tim's hanging on. He's having a look, trying to hang on to Mahe.
Well, we saw last year Olaf Tufte get off to a flyer as well and sat on top of Drysdale, and it's now Nathan Cohen, the young New Zealander, and the bows now are nearly touching. Mahe Drysdale's bow right on the stern of Nathan Cohen, and the 2 now have crossed. Tim Mains has been a little bit of a victim of this tussle because he's been out of it, but he's still only half a length behind Drysdale. Cohen with perhaps 3/4 of a length as he moves into the centre lane now. So it's Drysdale on the western bank. He's on the left-hand side of the course, and Tim Mains, the Belgian Olympian, 4th at last year's Olympics, and just nearly pipped Mahe Drysdale for that bronze medal. He's still on the eastern bank, although Nathan Cohen is continuing to move across to that side, and is now currently the eastern bank sculler. So Nathan Cohen still has the lead. He would have a length on Mahe Drysdale, who would have 3/4 of a length on Tim Mains.
What a great race. Nathan knew what he wanted to do. He went right across Mahe's bow. They nearly touched stern to bow. It was great. The umpire's waving his flag and going berserk. But Nathan's got where he wants to be, but he's struggling now a little bit into this headwind, I think. And Mahe's looking very strong, just pushing it hard through. It's hard to tell from our angle exactly, but it looks like he may be moving up a bit.
Yes, well, Drysdale is getting into that stride of his. He's a big man, of course, nearly 2 metres tall, and both Cohen and Mains are around about 185, so he's got at least 15 centimetres on these 2, and that's starting to tell now in what are quite difficult and strong headwind conditions, pushing up against the tide. So there are small white caps up here on the main 2,000 metre course, and probably that's why Nathan Cohen is moving across to the eastern shore.
Yes, Cohen struggling, I think, into the wind. That big effort to get across Mahi's bow may have cost him. He's struggling a little bit there. His rhythm seems to have gone. He's struggling with the wind. And Mahi, I'd say, would just about be hitting the front of the pace now. Tim not too far behind, but he's got two crews in front of him. The water's so rough that he won't be affected by the wash, but he's got a lot of work to do, and they're all struggling a little bit in this wind. But Mahi, I would say, has hit the front.
But great conditions now for sculling. They were quite challenging in the first 2K. The wind against tide and a nasty little lump, but here they are just pretty much perfect. Light side wind turning to a tail as the scullers are around just over the halfway mark now in this 5 kilometre race as they approach the Dublin Street Bridge.
He's on 28, Nathan on 30. They're both lining themselves up well for that bridge. There's still a bit of current going out, so they need to be careful. They come down on that bridge very quickly. Tim could struggle. He's in a little bit of wash that's carrying him out. He'll need to watch that bridge pile, or he could be like Sally, have to take a bit of evasive action. It'll cost him distance. He's going across to it, so he needs to have a look.
So Drysdale's through the bridge now, and he's comfortably clear of Nathan Cohen, the Southlander, who's a very, very well performed single sculler in his own rights at under 23 level, and of course is an established international double sculler with Rob Waddell, and also 4th place with Matt Trott at the 2007 World Championships. And we might expect that those two team up again this year to contest the World Championships. Of course, I should say next year, which will be held on the New Zealand's home track, Lake Karapiro, in November. So the scullers now moving across to the eastern bank as they move through the 3.5 kilometre mark, and then they'll take a long sweeping left-hand turn and turn to their left and go through the city bridge and around about 500 metres thereafter to the finish.
Just coming down to the end of the Kauai Park area. Mahi's moving away after that manoeuvre of Nathan's early on in the race, cutting him off. I don't think there'll be any love lost out there, and Mahi will be wanting to open the scap up. Nathan's got to do it now before the corner. He's got to catch up now. If he can't do it, it'll be all over for him, and there's a bit of a gap there. Tim down at the back, he's still struggling. He's been out here for the last month training at Karapiro in a double scull.
Yes, well, in order to Cohen to attack at this point, because the athletes are well over the anaerobic threshold, and they've been holding that a fair bit of pain inside these bodies, and to mount an attack at this stage means you're going into deep overdrive. So Cohen there just holding his form. He's probably only got one more stab at this, but it really does look as though Drysdale's now moving further ahead at this point. I think barring accident, the world champion should be able to negotiate the bend comfortably ahead of Cohen and then run past the big crowd and under the bridge. So it's Mahi Drysdale in the position he loves to be in control, as the scullers now slightly side on to the stream as they make their way across to the left bank. I think Dick called it the brewery down here, one of the landmarks of Whanganui, and there'll be a big crowd as these scullers go past the Waimarie and the Union Boat Club.
There's a fine exhibition of sculling coming from Mahi now through that drive. You see his legs and his body holding it, going through. It's still not easy. The wind swung a little bit. They're still battling into it. And you can see Nathan is just struggling a little more just to get it to go back, and he's fighting that wind. And Mahi's just pushing through, using his weight. He's got it nicely locked up, and his hips are going back. So it's a bit of a struggle for Nathan now into that wind. You can see just how hard this race is with the face of Tim Mayans, who's just gone past it. He's working hard. It's been a long way, and he's looking for this final corner and the finishing line. It's certainly a hard race today. Totally different from last year. Tim's holding 30 rating. He's still working at it.
This was very much might be the hardest training session he's had in New Zealand, I would imagine. He a long way down this track today when starting in that headwind and then having to trail these the Kiwis for much of the race. So the scullers in their left-hand turn, they just will be pulling slightly harder on their right-hand scull all the way around this corner, and that'll bring them in line with the City Bridge. But a big lead for the world champion, just recently returned to New Zealand from a number of similar races internationally in Italy, in Britain and in the United States. And he adds, he should add the 2009 Pro Space Billy Webb Challenge to his list of victories for the year. The Fenzian wildcard Nathan Cohen, what a gallant performance he's put in all the way down. And we know he's one of the toughest guys in the New Zealand rowing team. He's prepared to throw it all on the line, and he certainly did in that in the opening stanzas of this race.
Both scullers have done a good job going around this final corner. It looks pretty rough. You can see some white caps there. The water's fairly turbulent, and they've still got a hard tack this last bit down into the finish. It's going to be extremely hard. You can see a lot of white caps down there further down. So they're going to really have to battle at the end of this 5K just to finish the race.
Yes, well, fortunately they don't have to go far past the bridge. But as you say, Dick, there's some pretty good white caps there. And if they'd had to row very much further, you could imagine that there may be some concern that a bit of water may come on board these boats. But as it stands, I think they're going to be able to get reasonably comfortably through the choppy conditions as they move through the bridge, as long as Drysdale doesn't clip the one of these spans as he goes through one of the bridge supports, as there he carefully negotiates his way underneath the bridge, and the margin is probably about 12 or 15 seconds from Nathan Cohen, and a larger margin back to Belgium's Tim Mahan. So Mahe Drysdale now in the closing stages in these very, very rough conditions as he just buttons right down and goes into safety mode to finish the race. He'll take out the 2009 Pro Space Billy Webb Challenge. The Fenzian wildcard Nathan Cohen will finish in second place, and a big hand for Belgian Tim Mayans.
Drysdale gets the win. He wasn't happy about being beaten into second place last year. And in a very special moment, descendants of Billy Webb himself have presented the trophy for the Pro Space Billy Webb Challenge 2009.
On behalf of the Webb family, I'd like to take this opportunity of thanking all the organisers, sponsors, especially Pro Space, and all the rowers. The Webb family have proudly donated this glass walker, which we hope will be challenged for annually. It gives the family great pleasure in presenting this wonderful trophy to Mahe.
The winner of the 2009 Pro Space Billy Webb Challenge, Mahe Drysdale. Produced by Greg Ward right here in the River City, the glass waka for the winner of this wonderful challenge. And this time round, it is Mahe Drysdale, who's made some pretty big promises just before. And in case you didn't hear those, I want them to be repeated. What's the deal that we've struck again, Mahe?
The deal is if you can put this event on next year, the week after the World Champs, I'll get the top 4 scullers in the world here.
What do you think? Can we do it? Yeah, looks like that's game on, son. We'll look forward to that. It is going to be absolutely marvellous. Thank you so much for joining us today. And once again, a big round of applause for Mahe Drysdale and the rest of our competitors in the 2009 Pro Space Billy Webb Challenge. We hope to see you again in the sunshine once more in 2010.